Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose. The Denver Nuggets are 9-1. The Denver Nuggets played the Celtics, a championship contending team, last night, and they beat them. They've also beaten the Warriors. Not only that, Jamal Murray put up 48 points against this Celtics team, and Kyrie Irving. Look at all these different ways that he's getting buckets. What did Jamal Murray show you last night?
That he, along with Gary Harris and that terrific young backcourt, continue to ascend. And for those who haven't been paying close attention to this program and didn't hear you and I echo the fact that the Denver Nuggets are going to be really good this year, now people are starting to pay attention, and rightfully so. This is a quality win on your home floor. They're playing without Will Barton. We know the Joker's going to play at an all-star level at the center spot. Paul Millsap is giving them good minutes. Trey Lyles gave them quality minutes as well. I really think this team, once they get fully healthy, depending on what happens with Isaiah Thomas as the year progresses, is going to shock a lot of people in the Western Conference, because this is legitimate. I'm not saying it's going to be 90% win percentage type of good, but I'm telling you, they're trending towards being one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference if they can keep it up.
I mean, you know I like this team, and one of the only things I look at them and say, they're not that deep, but if they do get Thomas back, I don't think Porter Jr. will play, but they've got, Barton is not playing now. Like, they've got some players that should come back and contribute for them as they get deep in the season. I really like this Nuggets team. If you have League Pass and you're on the East Coast, it's worth staying up and watching some Nuggets basketball. There is something that happened at the end of the game that I need to talk to you about, though, Mr. Rose. Let's just take a look at the waning seconds of this Nuggets win. You see, we got Murray with the ball. He's got 48. He's just casually dribbling around and pulls up. Just pulls up. What's wrong with that, Jalen? My man can't shoot.
It's an unwritten rule in the NBA, and Kyrie's going to get a $10,000 fine for throwing that ball in the stands, that when the game is decided, it's the final possession, it's okay to just hold on to the ball and not add fuel to the fire, not try to pile on, not try to demean or disrespect the opponent, as it's called. The fight has been called. Stop the battle. Okay.
I understand. I understand why Kyrie was mad, but one thing I love about Kyrie is the way that he handled it afterwards when he spoke to reporters. Let's listen.
Congratulations to him having 48 points. He did it in a great fashion against us. Our defense has to be better, but the ball deserves to go in the crowd after a move like that. So do it in the crowd.
You know what? He's like, no big deal. He's like, I was mad at the time. I was upset, so I threw the ball in the crowd. But congratulations to him. We need to play better defense. I like the way he handled that. He could have gone a different way with that.
Absolutely. But I want to go deeper into the box score, because we're going to talk more about the Nuggets as the season progresses. And the Boston Celtics are my favorite to win the Eastern Conference, just slightly ahead of the Toronto Raptors. I can't wait to see those two teams play in the conference finals. It's really a coin flip. They're both playing so well. But I want to talk again about the Boston Celtics, and I want to make sure I put something on wax. I've alluded to this already. They have, in my opinion, one of the best general managers and head coaching combinations in the game in Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens. They have a multitude of assets not only on their roster, but they could get up to 3 first-round draft picks this year. They're going to have to look deep and hard at their roster and figure out if they want to keep the dynamic Kyrie Irving a part of this team going forward. Here's what I mean. Styles make fights. And if I'm building a squad, there isn't 12 people in the NBA that I would build around over Kyrie Irving. I think he's that good. I saw him shoot down the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals on the right wing. I saw he and LeBron James score 40-plus points. I've seen the 50 points versus the San Antonio Spurs. Like, this guy is an amazing scorer who has the best handles in the entire game, okay? But the Boston Celtics are a team that predicates itself off ball movement and player movement. And when he's at his best, it's 31 points, a handful of assists. It's not 12 or 15 assists type of primary ball handler. So when he's out there performing and doing his thing, and Gordon Hayward, who wasn't a part of the team last year because he was injured, has now returned and he's not playing well. So you put both of these guys back on the team. What ends up happening? You suppress the productivity of certain players. In particular, Tatum, Brown, Rozier, who made a name for himself, and Smart. So what they're going to have to decide is, are we going to give Kyrie a maximum contract and continue to play towards the style of an amazing one-on-one player that's limited defensively, or are they going to play like they did last year when he and Hayward were out of the lineup and still use those assets to continue to build on this great championship contending team?
Jalen, there's something about this that you haven't mentioned, you just alluded to, is that decision becomes a lot easier if Gordon Hayward is Gordon Hayward. He had 8 points last night. 8 points. Like, he is not healthy. This injury was obviously more severe than we all expected. Remember last year we were talking about maybe him coming back last year during the regular season? Now it's the next season. It's over a full calendar year later, and he's obviously still mentally and or physically kind of hobbled by it until Gordon Hayward becomes what they expected Gordon Hayward to be when they got him there. They have to have Kyrie's 31 points on that team because he put up 8 points last night.
Correct, but that's my point. That's the distinction. It's only 48 minutes in the game. You bring both of those guys back. One of those guys has been terrific in isolation situations, getting his buckets and playing well in Kyrie Irving. Gordon Hayward, he's struggling, but they're both starting. So now that clearly takes minutes and opportunities away from somebody else. This is a fascinating first world problem for the Boston Celtics.
It really is. It really is. Jalen Rose, I'm going to move on to some news that matters. Jalen, the executives at ESPN has given us this platform. I mean, an hour every day in the afternoon on ESPN2, and along that comes great responsibility. I feel like it's our responsibility to bring to the forefront some news and some topics that aren't being discussed in mainstream media, one of which is this. There's a rock, a space rock, an interstellar rock that's headed our direction. It's called Oumuamua, I believe. Oumuamua, I'm going to call it. Oumuamua is headed our way, and scientists have been tracking it. And Jalen, it doesn't move like a normal asteroid does. It's been making turns. It's been making flips. It's been doing things that make it seem like it's being controlled like a spacecraft. Huh. And let's look at this quote by the theoretical physicist Avi Loeb, who's been tracking it. Oumuamua could be an active piece of alien technology that came to explore our solar system. Jalen Rose, there is a probe, an interstellar probe, headed our direction to explore our solar system, potentially looking for life. And here we are talking about Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande breaking up. What can we do to make people understand that we are being probed by aliens? Because that's a fact.
Well, there's nothing I can do to make people think that we're being probed by aliens because I don't believe in them. Now, you do. So you probably should take this opportunity to do so. When I think of asteroids, I think of the video games I played growing up, like Stargate and Defender, where I could put 1/4 in, put a hole in it, put a little string on the end, and before you know it, I'm playing with the same quarter at the video game spot all day. That's all I know about asteroids.
Wake up, Jalen Rose.
You playing Galaga.
Wake up, man. We're not alone.
I'm not rolling.
How do you know I'm not an alien?
I'm not rolling.
When we come back, Allen Iverson has some criticism
Bubble
for today's
Chuck.
NBA. We'll share it with you after this. Tweet where he said, "Farewell, Miami," with a waving hand. Jalen Rose, he has not contacted the Steelers. Are we to assume that this means that he's headed to Pittsburgh?
How about this? He has 8 days in theory to show up to the team. Guess what he's going to do between now and then? Show up to the team. He's going to make sure that he doesn't do anything to forfeit his free agency at the end of this year. So basically what that was saying is, bye to Miami. It's been real. Put my album together. Spit some bars. Got a chance to kick it at Live. Had a chance to be on the jet skis. Now he got to go where it's cold. The weather has changed.
So one thing though about this,
in Pittsburgh.
Listen, I'm not a good speller, but if you know you're going to make national news with a tweet, just read it over, because you did not spell farewell right. You know what I mean? You got to spell farewell right. Come on, Le'Veon. Moving on, Jalen Rose, we have some Uber news. One thing that both Jalen and I do not like is a chatty Uber driver. Well, guess what's worse than a chatty Uber driver? A snitch Uber driver who's recording you while you're complaining about your job. The Ottawa Senators were piled into an Uber. Looks like an SUV. There's like 7 of them in there. They got 3 in the second row. And they were doing what everybody does, complaining about their job. But they didn't know they were going to be recorded and it was going to be put out on the internet. Let's listen to what this snitch Uber driver released to the world.
Do you notice that? Do you notice that when he runs the video, like if you actually do pay attention, he doesn't ever teach you anything. He just commentates what's happening. He's like, here's so-and-so skating on the wall with the box.
Yeah, it doesn't say what to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing, too. We don't change anything ever, so why do we even have a meeting? Like, I haven't paid attention in 3 weeks. And, like, I got my first shift, like, last game. And I
must have been listening.
And I knew what to do because he hasn't changed a thing.
I also hate how he quizzes us. He's like, what do
you do here, Max?
Max is like, I don't know. For me?
Jalen, there's so much wrong with this. So much wrong with this. But first, I want to start with the Uber driver. How much? Listen, I don't read the terms and conditions on any agreement on the internet I've ever agreed to. I just click the box. Everybody just clicks the box. So maybe he's within his rights to release this to the world. But as a human being, there's got to be some decency to this. Like how wrong is it of this Uber driver to just release this footage?
So when in Rome, you got to do as the Romans do. And there's one immediate distinction that jumps out to me as a mistake that was made by the players. Here's what it was. You pissed off the Uber driver by piling 7 people in his car. That's
probably
what happened.
They probably didn't tip. Y'all didn't tip, did you? That's what it is. If they didn't tip, they were probably eating. They probably spilled some beer on one of the seats or something, left a little trash back there. That's a good point, Jalen Rose. This is one of the reasons that you always tip as well. And I've been in Uber with you when we've been discussing something, and you've gone like this and pointed to the camera in the Uber. Like you're always 2 steps ahead when it comes to these things. I'm like, you really think this dude would release what we're talking about to the world?
Absolutely. And again, 1, you acknowledge they probably didn't tip well. But 2, he was upset from the jump because you got 7 athletes piling into my vehicle. This is my moneymaker. This is how I eat.
Ubers. Just get 2 Ubers. That's the same thing. I don't want to sit next. If I made as much money as a professional athlete makes, I would not be sitting middle seat in the back of an Uber. Simple as that. We would get 2 Ubers. I'll meet y'all where we're going. We'll be at the hotel. Don't worry about us. Moving on, Jalen Rose. It is now time for some very important news that matters. Jalen Rose, there is a mystery in Norwich, England. On October 4th, this picture was taken of a BMW several feet in the air in a tree. How in the world does a BMW get into a tree? Was it a flying BMW? Did a superhuman person pick it up and throw it into the tree? How did the BMW get there? Was a crane involved?
That's a tricky question.
I know. That's why I asked it to you.
So, like, maybe this is what happened.
Okay.
The BMW is a test car for what they're trying to do in 2020, a version of the Jetsons. For those old enough with Elroy in the family, they always have flying vehicles on the show.
That's a good theory.
Growing up, I always thought that in the year 2000, this was going to happen. It didn't happen. So that was just a test vehicle gone wrong. That's it.
We're way behind. Second, we have another layer to this mystery. Here's an updated picture